Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm excited to be working with a new line of 3D embossing folders by Spellbinders. This first set of cards is done with a gorgeous image called Beautiful Blooms. We're watercoloring super fast and easy when you're working with embossed images. Along with these folders, Spellbinders has introduced the universal plate system that can be used with most manual die cutting machines. This set of plates will accommodate everything from wafer-thin dies right up to these new thick 3D folders. I haven't got mine yet, so I'm going to be embossing with the Gemini electric die cutter. For the sandwich, I'm using just one cutting plate and the plastic shim. And just look at that beautiful three-dimensional look. It is just incredible. I've embossed on watercolor paper. For the black panel, I'm using Stonehenge Aqua Color Press, and for the white, Canson XL. Not only are these folders thick to create that beautiful three-dimensional look, they're also large, measuring 5 3/4 by 8 3/4 inches. This size is perfect for any sized card, but what I really love is that if you are making A2 size cards, it is going to be a 2-for-1 deal, which is exactly what I have done to create my 4 cards with these 2 panels. For the white panel, I'm working with Magello Mission Gold watercolors. And honestly, it couldn't be any easier to watercolor. I simply wet the flower, pick up the paint, and then drop it in, and it naturally flows into all of the crevices. Before the blooms were completely dry, I did go back in and add in a little bit more color to deepen up the shadow areas and also to give a nice smooth outline edge to the flowers. And sorry, my head's in the way while I do this last part. To be able to see the outer edge of the flowers, I did have to bring my head down closer to my work surface. And with the flowers completed, I use a nice fresh green to do the leaves and the stems. For the black panel, I'm working with Tile watercolors. These paints contain mica, so they're super shimmery and they're perfect for working on black watercolor paper. I find that these paints do need to be softened up, so the colors that I'm working with, I add just a little bit of water to them and let them sit for a few seconds before I start working with them. Other than that, the process is exactly the same. I begin by wetting the flower, picking up my paint, and then dropping it in. I really like the effect that this paint has on the black watercolor paper. The paint that is sitting on the high points has some transparency to it, but the paint that settles into the crevices is more opaque. The effect is soft and dreamy. It was much easier to see the outline edges of the flowers on the black panel, so I attended to that instead of going back like I did with the white panel as I painted. For more information on the products that I've used to make these cards, you'll find links in the description of this YouTube video or on my blog at bonniecarolee.com. After all of the flowers were painted, I then went in and colored all of the stems. I didn't tackle it this way for the first panel, but really this is easier. And then I just go in, wet each of the leaves, and then drop in some color. This paint makes for an interesting effect on this design. It is quite subtle until the light hits it, and then it picks up all the shimmer and shine from the mica. Because water has been placed on the embossed images, the edges have softened. So I'm going to take each of the panels and align them back into the embossing folder and run them through the die cutter again. We're very easy to line up, and I did wait until they were almost dry. And there we go, the embossing is more clearly defined again. To create some greater contrast between the highlights and the shadow areas, I used a white ink pad and just ran it over the high points of the embossing. For the white panel, I focused more on just the flowers, but for the black panel, I added these white highlights to the blooms and the leaves. The ink was applied to the leaves. I did not use quite as much pressure to avoid getting it on the background. The panels were placed into a protective box. Spatter was applied with a fan brush using distress stained tarnished brass. Now to cut down the panels, I'm going to start by trimming off the edges of the panel where there is no embossing. The panel is then cut in half. And it is just a matter of trimming all 4 sides until it is card front size, 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I love it when you get 2 for 1, 4 card fronts from 2 panels. All of the panels were mounted on matte gold cardstock that measures 4 1/8 inches by 5 3/8 inches. The 2 panels out of the black watercolor were mounted on black card bases and the other 2 on white. I chose simple die-cut sentiments for these cards. The sentiment that I'm working on now is from a set called Stitched for You. The rest of the sentiments are from my all-time favorite layered mix and match sentiments. Both sets have accompanying shadow dies with the script. Shadow dies were used to cut matte gold cardstock and foam so that they could be stacked. The script for the white background cards is in white and black for the other 2. Gold confetti was used to embellish the black watercolor cards. The other 2 cards I'm using pink opalescent color essential sequins. This is a new line of embellishments that Spellbinders has introduced. I only have 2 of the colors, but you can rest assured I'm going to be ordering the rest. They are absolutely gorgeous. And then I decided that I needed to add a little bit of sparkle to the 2 cards that were painted with Magello Mission Gold. Using a paintbrush to apply Nouveau Glitter Drops White Blizzard just to the tips of the petals. And then I thought, why not? Even though the other 2 cards were painted with the shimmery mica colors, I decided to take that up a notch as well. And then my standard practice of adding Nouveau Crystal Drops Morning Dew to all of the confetti gives them a jewel-like appearance. And that wraps up this set of 2 for 1 watercolor cards featuring a gorgeous embossing folder by Spellbinders Beautiful Blooms. This is a fantastic new line of folders with incredible dimension. Be sure to stay tuned for other cards featuring these new 3D folders. Thank you for stopping by, and as always, I appreciate your visit.